Hey guys, Ada here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another speed build. Today we're in the world of Oasis Springs and we are building a modern mid-century split level home, and I am so excited about this build. This is actually the first time I've built a split level home, and I'd seen a lot of them on YouTube and I really wanted to give it a go. And I did research a lot of methods on how to do the split level section, and this is the way that I found worked the best for me specifically, which is to build somewhat of the, I guess you could say, the basement or ground floor, you could say, and then build the entire building on top of that, which is what I've done here. So this particular build is got quite an interesting floor plan. It is a 3x2 bedroom home, and the downstairs is actually kind of like a studio apartment. It's really awesome. And obviously for this month, we are doing storylines. So builds that have a storyline as our inspiration. The family I envision living in this particular home has a celebrity famous dad who is an actor, a mum who is a stay-at-home mum, and then a young adult who lives down in the studio part, and I think it's a child sim as well, who loves all the fame and attention and comes with being part of this particular family, whilst I feel like the young adult kind of resents the fame and wants to kind of make it on their own and be a little bit more segregated from the family. So potentially he would have, or I'm not really sure. It's very gender neutral down in the basement, so I'm not really sure if I've made it for a male or a female young adult sim. I just know that that's the age range and that they potentially have a distant type relationship with the dad. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the floor plan as we are doing the exterior. So for the exterior, we are this is the basic shape, and I really love this. I think it's very simplistic, but it still has that mid-century vibe. Now we are in the part of Oasis Springs where all of those Mediterranean Spanish type builds are, kind of where like the Caliente family live, but I needed a big lot and I loved the lighting on this particular lot. So I decided to build this lot. This lot would also work very well in like Delso Valley and things like that. So if you were to download this build, it is available on the Sims 4 gallery. My gallery ID is Antoine.44. It's in the description below. You could potentially download this build and put it into another world that suits, or you could use this lot. We are obviously using a lot of terrain manipulation. I did struggle with the terrain manipulation in terms of making sure that the levels that had doors were accessible and making sure the ladders were correct. But I do think if I had my time again, I would probably change the amount of terrain manipulation that's at the front of the build. I do feel that it's a lot and it's really high. So yeah, I think that I'd go back and redo that. But other than that, I think it's a really solid build. The background is the background. The backyard is quite spacious. We do fence it off to kind of help create that division because right now it looks a little bit silly. And we are now inside to talk about the floor plan. So the main reason we have a studio apartment-esque downstairs is because I wasn't able to put a staircase that leads from the downstairs to the main house. I couldn't get it to work. It didn't matter what I did. I just couldn't get it to work. So that downstairs part has its own access. It has its own door. It is not connected to the main house in any way, shape, or form. So the reason that I decided to make it a studio apartment is because I thought realistically, if a sim was down there and had a bedroom, they would need a bathroom. They would need their own, because you imagine like not having a bathroom down there, but a bedroom, and you have to go out of the front and then go up the main stairs and into the house, like just to go to the bathroom. Like it would take forever. So it wasn't very practical. So I decided to do that. And then I was like, why not make like our own little house? And also the other idea that I had, if you do have the businesses and hobbies expansion pack, you could do a small business down there quite easily. That was another thought that I had for that space. So depending on what you want to use this particular build for, you really can customize it for your family. All right, so we have started the decorating, and the only reason I've done this is because I went with placing like the placement furniture, but I kind of started decorating it. And I think I just got into a feel because I did that kitchen. I love the chocolate browns and dark colors that we use in this build. We actually use the Snowy Escape kitchen set paired with the cool kitchen stuff, kitchen cabinets, and it turned out really well. I really love that kind of mixture. And then we've gone with something a little bit more industrial with that fireplace that comes from Eco Lifestyle. We use the Book Nook kit wallpaper throughout the entire house. Eco Lifestyle flooring, that's that kind of burnt orange flooring that's kind of textured. It's got different colors in it. And I really struggled with the color scheme. So I used a lot of businesses and hobbies and life and death and those type of packs in this particular build, but I really loved this green swatch, but I hated the cherry tone and I couldn't find it to match. So in the end, I've gone with that green colored dining chair that comes with business and hobbies because I loved this kind of freestanding armchair that comes with the refined living room kit. So I love that little space. So you've got your kitchen, your dining, a little seating area. That's not the living room. The living room is actually behind this half wall. Well, it's not a half wall, but behind that wall. This area here. And you've got a desk. This is your living room. So I've used the couch that comes with, what's that pack? Industrial loft kit. Paired it with some base game stuff. This is a very similar living room to the one that I did when I did the apartment series, the industrial apartment. Very similar kind of layout. This wall decoration piece is quite interesting. I never knew we had this. It's actually part of base game. And I'd seen it in a couple of builds that were done on YouTube and I really liked it. And I was like, I have to find this piece. So I remembered it, added it in. This flower plant that came with growing together. Again, when I do builds that are somewhat modern or mid-century or anything in that realm, I like to use lots of materials, metals and different fabrics. And so you've got leather, you've got just all sorts of stuff. It just kind of elevates the space. For the bathroom, we have essentially gone the entire sleek bathroom kit. So that is all that this bathroom is. It's pretty standard. It is it's essentially the only bathroom in the main house. It is a 3x2, but from the main house, it just looks like a 2x1 because you only have 2 bedrooms in the main part of the house. Speaking of the bedrooms, the bedroom that is directly next to this bathroom is the main bedroom, the master bedroom, and then the one that is adjacent to the front door, that is the female child's room, which we'll be getting into shortly. I loved the combination of that navy blue with that funky tile. I thought that was quite sweet. So yeah, bathroom is very standard. Used a lot of the sleek bathroom kit. We are outside to arguably the part of the build that took me the most to do, but in my opinion, the most satisfying. The landscaping. I really wanted to play around with the landscaping and try to fix this build because, as I said, I felt that there was way too much terrain paint and too much of a hill at the front of the build. These rocks from the debug menu really helped in framing that area so that it kind of made sense, kind of implied that it's a rocky section that surrounds the main part of the build and just helps frame the front yard as well because it looked very flat. There wasn't a lot of shape to the front of the build. I tried to use pretty much all the debug menu that comes with base games, more specifically the flowers and plants that are part of Oasis Springs. As you can see around us, you can see lots of those pink lay-lowing flowers, a lot of like the aloe vera plants. and those, I don't know, are they daisies? I'm not sure what they are, but flowers like that and the lavender. And I just kind of went to town. I also added in the plain low laying flowers. These are in the debug menu for packs like Enchanted by Nature, Horse Ranch. I'm not sure what else, but I know those two packs specifically have these plain low laying flowers. And I love them. Now that I know that they exist, I'm going to use them a lot more in builds where I just don't really want the flower. I don't really want anything colored. I want a plain bush because I think that that's really quite nice. And then you can be a little bit more specific with the colors you want to use. So yeah. All right, so we're now in the backyard, and as you can see, I've gone in with a base game stone type fence, and I'm just going in with more of the flowers, and I'm framing this area. I do add further fencing in this top section off camera, and the reason that I do is because the staircase looks funny. I think it looks awkward, and I think it looks very unsafe. But it is The Sims. But if this was real life, I swear that would not be compliant because I feel like it's so steep and there's no railings. So, but if I just added railings, it looks weird. So I had to add some fencing around that area. You'll see it in a minute to kind of make it fit in. We've gone in with these raised garden beds, which are part of the Oasis Springs like landscaping. And I think they were really nice. They added a point of difference to the backyard. And we do add in a pool, a very small pool. As I said, it was a very weird shape because, again, of how much of a hilly section. So I think if I was to change this build, I would probably remove some of that hill. All right, I've gone in with some terrain paint just to path the entire backyard essentially, and we also do a bit of the front. I liked this. It was a bright kind of terracotta brick terrain paint, and I think it paired well with the path that we used in the driveway, and yeah, I think that it's complementary to the house. So we're just adding in that, and I'm just adding in some more plants. I do leave a little bit of green, and I think I put potentially some like play equipment and whatnot around this area, but I definitely add more like outdoor furniture up in that top section where we will be putting a fence. I couldn't put the driveway right to the end of the lot, and that really did bug me, but I think it's nice nonetheless. And where the car is, there's actually there's a really one tile wide glass panel door that comes with business and hobbies. And I've said this before in a previous build where I love it how it looks like a window, but it's a door. So I think that worked really well at the front of the build for access to that studio apartment, because it really does look like a garage, but inside is a fully functional 1-by-1 bedroom apartment. So yeah, you could essentially have a roommate, you could rent it out, you could you could have a small business. You could do a lot with that space there. It's fairly well spaced. When we get into it, you'll see what I mean. But right now we are just finalizing the landscaping, putting dirt under all of the trees. And yeah, I think we are now moving inside to finalize the inside and do the bedrooms. Okay, so this is kind of essentially the entry point of the build. It is kind of a, I would say, minimally decorated home. When I think of mid-century modern, I think of minimal. I think of, but I've actually used quite a lot of color. I think that this is also a really pretty build that would be just in like black and white and a very like clean aesthetic. I think you could do that very well. But I think with the brown wallpaper, it's more inviting to color. Like for example, in this master bedroom that we're in, this bed actually comes from Industrial Loft Kit, and I really loved the blue swatch. And because the blue swatch does have some yellow in it, I thought these modern base game yellow dresses and the side tables were perfect. I also used the nature press flowers that have some pink and blue in it. And I really embraced the pink and blue color scheme in this master bedroom. And I think it turned out really lovely. Dare say that this is probably my favorite bedroom in this build. But my favorite room in the house I struggle because I actually think the downstairs studio is really lovely as well. Put in a computer. I've said this before, that rug that came with Lovestruct is so good because it paired perfectly, that shade of blue. It's like an electric blue. We use the Spa Day. Is it Spa Day? I think it's a Spa Day chair. Either that or it's Snowy Escape. I love the chunkiness of it. That kind of wooden chair. And we just kept it very simple in there. A couple of photos, a bookcase and whatnot. We are now moving into the child's room. Now, I believe that this sim embraces fully that her family are, famous, and that, potentially she's such a daddy's girl. I could see it. I can see it. We've gone with a pink and black color scheme. I really loved this base game bedspread. It was modern, and I kind of leaned into the pink and black, or it's kind of like a dark brown, but it reads kind of black. And this flowered dresser that comes with, I think it's actually movie hangout stuff. I always forget. I thought was really good. A really cluttered desk with a void critter machine. We've gone with a toy box that's kind of worn, looks a bit hand down, and just a really pretty room. We've gone in with more of these nature press artwork pieces, some posters. I think we changed the wallpaper in this particular space. Yes, yep, with like a pale pink. Oh no, a darker pink that matches the bedspread, and also it's not a Bluffy, but I don't know, it's a Sasquatch. I'm not sure. Bigfoot? Who knows? Added in a simple plan, and we are now moving outside, and I've used these eco lifestyle chairs. I said this before in another build this month, but I really love the chairs that come with eco lifestyle. I think these are the ones you fabricate. So that's really nice. And as you can see, I've added in that fencing so I could also add in some railing to the staircase because it absolutely needs it. And I put in a range of those pots that you make from Business and Hobbies in the pottery skill, and the indoor plants that came with Enchanted by Nature. I just thought it was a nice way to like spruce up the place. Okay, my favorite part of the build. We are downstairs in the 1-bedroom studio. I start with the bedroom, and this, I don't worry because it is a double bed, but it can be used. The sim will just scoot over, and that way you can have 2 sims in that, utilize that bed. And I'm just kind of like mapping out how I want to do this. I don't have much else in that bedroom. I think I put in a desk and and maybe a chair potentially. I used the bed that came with Eco Lifestyle, and I kind of went with like a red theme down here. Very simple. Use the same bathroom furniture that's in the main house. I do get rid of this window. I kind of tuck it behind where you would technically think there's like ground and earth, but there's actually a gap, and you can still get some light that shines through because you can kind of see there that there's a gap. Anyway, it works. Long story short. And this main section here is where we do the kitchen and living room. Granted, there's not necessarily much of a living room. I do use a TV cabinet and bookcase that comes with Tiny Living, and the sim would have to sit at their dining table to watch it. I do move the dining table from here. It doesn't stay there, but it's still functional, and I really love that space. And they don't have an oven, but they have a convection oven, which is still usable. They've got tons of counter space. You could still use that. You can use the corner counter to prepare food on. And I just think it's a really well use of the space. I've used another chair from Eco Lifestyle, and this is the TV cabinet. I get rid of that window that was behind the TV cabinet, and I think I go in with this kind of buffet table that comes with, I think it's either the refined living room kit or the comfy kish kit. I can't remember which one, but I loved how modern it was, but it's also sleek. So I thought that that would be perfect in this space because there wasn't a lot of room, but I wanted a way to kind of emphasize that there is an entry. Gone in with a speaker item, and I put in a digital sketch pad because maybe this sim is creative and they like to draw and do, painting and that stuff. And I also thought of a student in this space as well. It does lean a little bit more feminine, but you really could have any sort of sim in this space. I put in a cushion to emphasize the orange in this particular room and more of those nature press paintings. Yeah, we're really pulling in the orange in this space. And yeah, just doing the final touches down here, putting in some tile in the bathroom. I've gone in the one for rent paired with a sleek bathroom kit. I love this combination. I've done it in tons of the houses that I have built, and I really enjoy that space. Just adding in the final touches, a mailbox, putting in some welcome mats. We are live in Gabe and we are going to go through the tour. So you walk in and you have this open space where you have your living room, your sliding door that goes outside the property. You have your desk, dining room, sitting area, your kitchen, where I've put in a lot of clutter on those shelving bits. So that's a really pretty space. You then head to the, what is the right side of the build, and you have the bathroom, the master bedroom. Love the colors in there. Love, love, love. And then the child's room. Pink and fun. And I believe we're going outside. Yep, outside you've got a sitting area, some gardening stuff. You head down, you have these bunkie bars, a sitting area, the pool, hopscotch. Still very family friendly. I'm going to add some clutter into this space. Or do I add an umbrella? Yep, I add an umbrella. And we've gone, do we keep the yellow or do we change the color? Keep the yellow, yep. And we are back to the front. You then enter into the studio apartment part, and then you have the kitchen, dining, living, and your bathroom and your bedroom. What a wonderful build. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on today's build. If you like what you see, please consider liking, leaving a comment and subscribing. And thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed today's build, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.